Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. And hopefully one day we'll have a TFR type of show back. But top headlines at this moment: Republicans rally with Harris as she calls Trump unhinged. And she keeps using that word. It's been all over the place. We can talk a little bit more about that. Again, Israel was attacked by the numbers by Iran, which was overthrown by the CIA in the 1950s. But now, 2 weeks later, they're ready to retaliate. And I'm suspecting we're going to hear about this on October 18th, their time, or it might start late the evening before. They do like to attack in the middle of the night. But I'm pretty sure this is going to become a big focus on October 18th. Again, we'll get to why. In light of today being October 16th, it is exactly 7 days before the 23rd, which is the first day of Scorpio. And I know 2-3 weeks back, I put out a video circling October 23rd and why the period of Scorpio, as soon as October 23rd, look ripe for a significant earthquake in Southern California. Look at what CNN has up there today. A series of earthquakes has Southern California shook. Is a big one coming? Now, let's hope not. But I'm pretty sure when it does come, it's not going to be Mother Nature. It's going to be what Jesse Ventura warned about long ago, and others, including yours truly. Jesse Ventura said back on his show Conspiracy Theory that back when he was a Navy SEAL, they used to plant big bombs down in the Pacific along fault lines. And then also Liam Payne, former One Direction member, dead at 31. Now, this headline just broke, and I did about a 2-minute decode on this, and I think I've pretty much already solved all the main points, because once you know what's going on in this world, it's really easy to see through. Of course, yesterday I covered a dead musician at a relatively young age and how it was synced with his record label. This guy's with Columbia. And you want to guess what Columbia equals in Gematria? Just take a look at his age of death and you'll have the answer. And maybe we'll start right there because, again, for all the young people who aspire to be in show business, and a lot of parents want their children in show business too, and I just don't think people would want to be in it so much if they knew what was really going on. My mom, she always hoped I'd grow up to be like some Hollywood actor or something, and she entered me in a contest in the Oregonian. That's the newspaper in Portland, Oregon. Well, really for the state of Oregon. But when I was born, she entered me in a contest for most beautiful baby, and I got runner-up. Whoa, man, runner-up. But anyway, it's a good thing that her aspirations for me to go into show business never panned out. And we probably never really had a shot anyway because we don't have any connections to anybody. But it's just that this show business thing, it's so sick, it's so evil, it's so demented, and it's so full of ritualistic death. And again, this same recording industry sings songs about what's really going on, like Murder by Numbers, where killing's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3, and Gematria, the killing name, when Gematria is the practice of coding numbers into words. But look at this, you guys. This poor guy, dead in the Pope's country, right? He's dead in the Pope's native country. Look at when their first album came out. November 18th, 2011. It's about to turn 13 years old. Look at him, just a bunch of little kids when they started it out. He would have been 18 years old when their first album came out. And that means he's died. They're saying he fell off the balcony at his hotel tonight, like Eric Clapton's child, which I'm guaranteeing you was no accident like it was told. And Eric Clapton even made a song about it, Tears in Heaven. And everyone's like, what? You think about it in a way, Eric Clapton, he might have capitalized better than any musician ever did after one of these ritual sacrifices, making a big story about it and how sad it was. And supposedly just didn't have his eyes on the baby and it just crawled off the balcony. I highly doubt that's what happened. I've covered Tears in Heaven and the death of his child and how ritualistic it was. But this young guy is dead 33 days before the anniversary of the album. And that's a number that we've, talked about almost every single day for the 11 plus years I've been here. But it gets better than that. From his August 29th birthday to the day he fell off the balcony was 48 days later. And their first album for his group One Direction, and there's probably a joke with Kamala and her campaign being forward, because she keeps saying we're not going backwards, we're only going one direction forwards. She's running against Mr. 48 Donald Trump. But anyway, This group's first band is Up All Night, which equals 40, or their first album's Up All Night, which equals 48. Just same stuff day after day. Dead 48 days after his birthday. I just said he's dead 33 days before the anniversary of the album. There's a mathematical relationship with 48 and 33. The divisors of 33 equate to 48. 1, 3, 11, 33. Those are the divisors of 33. You add 1 plus 3 plus 11 plus 33, 48. And remember, the word Freemason equates to 48. 33 is associated with Masonry thanks to the Scottish Rite, where that's the highest degree. And, you know, the 3 degrees of the Scottish Rite are 31, 32, and 33. He's dead at 31, like his record label's Columbia. So, yeah, I mean, again, I'm sure if we looked at this more, there's even more to it, but I wasn't even planning on covering this. I was just going to talk about the other stuff up on the front page, and then right before I go live, this pops up, and I thought, well, people are going to ask me about this since this was buzzing, so we might as well take all of 2 minutes to figure it out. And again, I make the point that it only takes 2 minutes to figure it out because once you're aware of what's going on in the world and you have this knowledge, which is in use every day for rituals just like this, you see right through it, and you only have to plug it. I mean, I'm showing you the same thing. Is it not the same thing? Measure from the birthday. Look at the first work that they're remembered for. Look at their record label. It's like yesterday, the musician's dead at 52. His record label equals 52, you know? Or that was 2 days ago now that was in the headlines, but I put out my video yesterday. Here's what else to say. He's dead remember the musician we covered yesterday was dead 62 days after his birthday. Sacrifice equals 62. In the case of this man, he's dead 62 days before the Pope's birthday, which of course you got to look at. This is Argentina, where the Pope's from, where the short mustache man went to, who's in his storybook for committing suicide, but nobody ever found his body. And we live in such a goofy age, too, where if you even say that word, that the SUICIDE word, then your video is no longer monetizable. It's like, what is this? Like, you know, they got to ban Papa Roach from the radio. No more Last Resort. Again, it's just, we live in such a silly age. All of this stuff is so dumb. But anyhow, 62 days before the Pope's birthday, and remember, he's the first Jesuit Pope. We're also in the time of the first Jesuit Superior General, who's also from Latin America, and that's Arturo Sosa, who's from Venezuela. They've been sticking up all the Venezuelan gang stories with him. It's all a big psyop. But they're saying this guy fell off the balcony. Balcony has the gematria of 27, like ritual, like that long list of the 27 club. This guy's also dead 27 days before the Superior General's birthday. So Liam Payne, feeling the pain, but hopefully not for long. Hopefully it was a quick and mostly painless. It's sad, man. I don't want to make jokes about it, but you know, and they made it. Here's another thing, you guys. They made it on the X Factor, right? What year is it? It's 24. It's 2024, right? X is the 24th letter. You might recall all the rituals they were doing with Elon Musk and X. When he changed the name from Twitter to X, it officially became that on the 24th of July, right after the Illuminati had turned 247 years old and just days before the country turned. Or excuse me, it was 20 days after the country had turned 247 years old. Of course, July 24th does follow July 4th. But 24/7, while those things are 247, that Mike Myers spoof that he put out about the Illuminati, the main guy's name was Lord Lordington in the show. I can't remember what it was called right now, but Lord Lordington equals 201, like order of Illuminati. But Elon Musk was a big part of the plot line for that. And yeah, don't forget, Elon Musk first offered $54 per share on 14/4 for Twitter, and Jesuit order equals 144 the big way, 54 the small way. Bavaria also equals 54, where the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt founded the Illuminati. And I bring that up because this guy's name, Liam James Payne, also equates to 144 and 54. Go figure. the rapper we just talked about who died, Ka, died 54 days after his last album. It's crazy how it's just always the same pattern of numbers coming up day after day. And looking at this cover just reminds me of the David Bowie song "Rock and Roll Suicide." Again, look up the lyrics of that. Too young to choose it. I think a lot of these guys are signing their souls away when they're just children and don't know any better. A few more things that could be noteworthy. Wednesday's the day of the week that has gematria 44, like kill, like execution. Argentina also equals 44, where he died. One Direction, the big way is 193, the 44th prime. All right. They try to make it sound like he was just going nuts down in Argentina. His girlfriend left him. But, all right, coming back. In light of the Wednesday 44 thing, Israel in the headlines on Wednesday with their plans. They're ready to attack Iran. You know, they're going to forecast their whole plans through the world, through international headlines before they do it, because it is the theater of war. But remember, Wednesday equals 44. So does Israel. So does Zion. So does Netanyahu. Don't forget the founder of Zionism, Theodore Herzl, died at age 44. 44 years before Israel was created. He died in 1904 on July 3rd. Israel created in 48 officially. And then this headline about the earthquake. It's interesting how they're talking about an earthquake on a Wednesday. Again, Wednesday 44, earthquake 44, military 44. We circled the date October 23rd, which will be 44 days after the state of California's September 9th birthday. And look, I mean, I didn't write this article. Look at the first thing mentioned in this article. The first set of numbers. What are the first set of numbers in this article? From the top, Los Angeles, beautiful beaches, majestic mountains, Hollywood. One more thing Southern California is known for: earthquakes. Yet for a long time, and to the great relief of millions, the many active faults that claw and tear through the earth have been relatively quiet. That peace has been recently shaken by several quakes that jostled the region to attention, including a 4.4 magnitude under Pasadena in mid-August. Again, we know there's been a lot, so why did they even lead off with the 4.4? There's been bigger ones too. You know what I mean? It's because all they're reporting to you every single day is encoded information, numerical ritual, mass mind control, keeping everybody under the spell of their programming, back to your regularly scheduled programming. I mean, look at the next number they had to throw up there, the 4.7. I mean, how many times do I got to pull it up here? What is 47, right? What is 47? It's news. It's nonstop propaganda. It's the 47th problem of Euclid, studied by the Masons. But anyhow, isn't it funny, though, that this is the headline a week before the day? And it is funny that next Wednesday is going to be the day, October 23rd, that we said you really got to start looking out once the period of Scorpio starts, because it's all synced with the Scorpion King, The Rock. And again, for anyone who doubts that, we already predicted perfectly an earthquake in California that landed on August 6th, exactly 96 days after The Rock's birthday, when he's in the movie San Andreas about a 9.6 earthquake. And again, he's 52 years old with a May 2nd 5.2 birthday. That earthquake on August 6th was a 5.2. 1952, when the first act of weather warfare was admitted to. And I incorporate this earthquake warfare with the same thing. Keep in mind the word earth equals 52. Like flood, like Enlil. Again, the Enlil's the Babylonian god of storms, and he would be associated with things like earthquakes. But yes, the other thing is San Andreas is 96 when you run the alphabetic order forwards. It's 174 when you run it in reverse. California turned 174 years old on September 9th, and October 23rd will be 174 days after The Rock's May 2nd birthday. It will also be 78 days after the August 6th earthquake that was also synced with The Rock, and 78 days later. It's a very special number for a lot of reasons, but it fits right in with the whole Scorpion King and Scorpio. And the last movie in the Scorpion King series did release on October 23rd, the first day of Scorpio. So, You have all of that up here. And then who else is front and center on this Wednesday with all these 44 headlines? Well, none other than Kamala Harris. So just so you can see that it's everything in the headline is 44 right now. It's the death of a singer in Argentina, 44. And again, it's One Direction, which equals 193, which is the 44th prime. I'm sure you see the 67 as well, like blood sacrifice and human sacrifice. Again, it's Israel, it's Zion, it's earthquake, it's Wednesday, it's news by the numbers, like it is every day, like it is every day. And by the way, I went back on Lord Jamar's show today. He calls it the God Pod. And, I had to challenge what he was doing, and he allowed me to come on there and challenge him. He likes what I'm doing, but he realizes that I'm also going against his flow. But I appreciate that he doesn't just not have me on. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I'm assuming that Lord Jamar has gotten funneled a little bit of money somewhere to get on board with some very political things that I don't know if his heart is really into. But he's big on Trump right now. And I just thought, how is this even possible? I mean, he's the guy that was repping my book in 2020 that shows how instrumental Trump was in the scandemic. And I went back on his show and reminded him about all that. And he heard it all. And his audience mostly heard I see his chat room. His chat room mostly likes when I come on. But there, you got the few dopes in there that just don't have enough IQ points to appreciate it. Whatever, numbers. It's like, yeah, I know you're one of the special ed characters. You might not have had to wear the helmet when you walked around on the sidewalk and might not have had to go on the short bus, but you should have. You should have. You're lucky this no child left behind thing, So, again, it's full of FRs, this place we call home. Full of FRs. And if you don't know what a FR is, you must be new here. The Mormons would use the word frick, and the other people would say, don't use that word. That word's so outdated. Call them Special Olympians. No, I'll just call them FRs because that's what they are. But, anyhow, this Israel thing, the reason I think they're going to do it on October 18th one more time is because it's the anniversary of Event 201. They always have some BS lined up for October 18th. Remember, in the Bible, Luke 10:18, it's where Satan comes to earth in a bolt of lightning. And in 2019, it was Event 201, which was synced up with Clade X. And it was this biblical simulation of a pandemic that changes the world. And with all regards to all the 201 business, again, the Holy Bible, 201, right? It's a book of knowledge. In Hebrew, the original letter and number code 201 is related to light and enlightenment. The Holy Bible 201. Satan, who's also referred to as Lucifer in other translations, and which has also brought about a debate that Satan and Lucifer are not the same entity, or some people say they are. I lean more towards they are the same entity. But again, there's phrasing in the Bible of that old serpent to refer to Satan, which is another 201. And you might notice it's 177, just like the Jesuit order is 177 and 201. And they serve the Vatican, which has all kinds of tributes to the serpent. That character right in the beginning that's so clever and so full of tricks. He's the master of words and language. He knows how to deceive. But again, the Jesuits did find the Order of Illuminati, which is 201. And the first, founder of the Jesuits is Ignatius of Loyola, which is 201. And Pope Francis is the first Jesuit Pope and the first to live in Suite 201, which has a name, and it's the Domus Sanctae Marte, and that's 201. And his birth name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio, was 201. And the million other 201s we could get into, like the U.S. sending $95 billion to Israel on the 201st day of the war. Well, it was sent to Israel and Ukraine. When Ukraine, where the war is going on with Russia and Ukraine, if you look it up, that's where ancient Khazaria was, which is where Ashkenazi Jews come from. And so we sent $201 billion to Israel and Ukraine on the 201st day of the war in Israel. And don't forget, the war in Israel began in the Donbass region, and it began shortly after Biden and Putin met on Pearl Harbor Day, which was 201 days after the first Jesuitic nation year began. And again, Israel was founded in a big old 201 ritual, and State of Israel's 201. And David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister, died 201 days after the anniversary of Israel's establishment. Just like If I already didn't say so, Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit who founded the Illuminati, died 201 days after the anniversary of its establishment. Order of Illuminati 201. You know, the thing illuminated in the sky by the sun, the moon landing on the 201st day of the year, July 20th. The man on the moon, Neil Alden Armstrong, 201. It just goes on and on and on. The 16th century, the century of the Jesuits, the century of heliocentrism. The model was agreed to in the 16th century, the century the Jesuits were created. And no, I don't think that is proof that the earth is flat. I think what it's proof of is, humanity had become very advanced, and a system was put into place based on the movement of the sun and the moon and the stars and our relation on earth. And then they synced up the calendar and the language, and they took this knowledge of Kabbalah, and then they were officially the Cabal, and they've been ruling humanity by a code ever since. That's very redundant. Again, about sending 201 billion to the state of Israel and Ukraine on the 201st day of the war, or I misspoke, not 201 billion, excuse me. They sent 95 billion on the 201st day of the war. Remember, the 95 Theses penned by Martin Luther is what brought about the creation of the Jesuits, who were created 201 months later. And it goes with Martin Luther King Jr. getting smoked on the 95th day of the year and the nation's first major gun control legislation coming 201 days later. And it has to do with why there's been a major push ever since Sandy Hook to really undermine the Second Amendment. And Sandy Hook was compared to the Dune Blaine massacre, which got gun rights taken away in the UK. And it's 201 months from Dune Blaine to Sandy Hook. 201 months in one day, because that happened on March 13th. What was it, 96? And Sandy Hook is December 14th, 2014. And by the way, I keep forgetting this one too. The death of George Washington on December 14th. Father Francis Neal, the Jesuit priest who was at George Washington's side when George died. Let me see. Look at this. From Francis Neal, who was right next to George Washington, who they say brought about the Jesuit resurgence. Don't forget, the Jesuits came out of suppression in the time of James Madison, the only 201 president today. He was president of the United States when the Jesuits came out of suppression. But this guy even ended up dying 201 days after his birthday. The Jesuits are crazy about the 201. They'll take their own by the code. You don't think they'll take you? So, yeah, but anyway, I was talking about some of this on Lord Jamar's panel. I see the majority of his chat likes it, but then you read the certain people and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe people think numerology mean anything. And you just know, if you talk to them, they're the same people that are all into the news. They think that everything that was meant to be learned was taught to them in slave school. That all these people are just they're clones of each other. It's they don't have any common sense. They don't realize that they literally are a lemming. And if you don't know what a lemming is, there's a reason I refer to lemmings a lot. Here, let me see if I can just pull up the definition real quick. If Google hasn't 1984'd it. A person who unthinkingly joins a mass movement, especially a headlong rush to destruction. And I'm pretty sure when I was a little kid, there was actually a video game on Nintendo. I used to know this kid. His name was Michael. He had every Nintendo video game there ever was. I think that's where I saw it. I think it was a video game where somehow you push people off a cliff, and it was called Lemmings, if I'm not mistaken. Michael had it. But yeah, it's just anytime I see I'm just there's the lemons. You just can't help it. And again, you have to understand, you guys, the Mark Twain quote about, well, it's easier to fool somebody than convince them they've been fooled. That one's true. And then the other Mark Twain quote about if voting did anything, they wouldn't allow anyone to do it. Both of those quotes are 1,000,000% true. And again, I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I've known since I was a young person, and I've never really been an arrogant, I've always been the type of person that wants to help out people, but I've also known from a young age that I was smarter than almost everybody else in the room. It's when I was in high school, there was one other person in the high school who was smarter than me. Shout out to Dan P. I won't put out his last name, so I'm not doxing him, but he got a 1600 on the SAT, and he went to NYU on a full ride, and now he's probably building missiles for Lockheed Martin or something like they do with all these brainiacs. They take all the best minds and they put them towards building the New World Order military surveillance state, because that's where all the money is. I honestly don't know what Dan P went on to do. Maybe that's not it. But I remember that kid used to play SimCity like it was nobody's business. Anyhow, he was just like a rocket scientist genius. And then maybe there was one other girl who also actually went to NYU. She didn't get a 1600. Her name was Elaine H. She might have been smarter too. But, I went to a high school, 2,000 and some people. Those were the only two people in the whole building that were smarter. And you look at almost everybody else and you're just like, what is wrong with these people? Like, God, like my parents aren't rocket scientists. I feel like I should be on the same level as everybody else. Why is everybody else so dumb? You can't figure out the answer to that problem? You got to ask that question? Are you serious? But then you realize, you're like, God, that's what humanity is. I don't know what's wrong with people. I don't know what's wrong with people. Like, how can you still be going to these rigged selections or being getting excited about any of these candidates? You're excited about something that's so obviously rigged and such an insult to everyone's intelligence. Look at these candidates. The orange vein man, the proud pussy grabber, the game show host, the guy born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Doesn't seemingly not that smart. He talks, it's almost as bad as George W. Bush, except for he doesn't have as many airs in his speech. But it's just the terminology that he uses reminds me of a little kid. Just good, bad, I'm the greatest, they're the worst. It's like, these are like childish concepts just constantly coming out of his mouth. I have the biggest crowd sizes. My crowds are way bigger. It'll be the best when I'm back in there. It's like, sure wasn't the best the first time you were in there. And I don't know what's wrong with the United States of amnesia. Does everyone forget that this is the guy who ushered in the banker scam from Switzerland? And see, that's the problem about living in a society of dopes. We live in a fake economy, bottom line, but even if you go to school and learn about how inflation works, inflation 101 is that when you print money, inflation comes. And countries have destroyed themselves printing money. We printed an insane amount of money to the delight of the bankers because we went out and got those big loans where they get paid back with heavy interest by we the taxpayers. But it was Trump who went along with all these things. And all these presidents get in there and just do insane things. It's just insanity, you guys. It's insanity. Our federal government is insane. Listen, instead of thinking of it as this big government, just think of it as a household, right? Just minimize it in your mind. Think of it as a household. We know that this household has incredible debt problems. Incredible debt problems. It's got major problems right within its own house that it needs to solve. But what's this household doing? They're going out and finding some bank that will loan them $5.2 billion more this week so they can shoot off a rocket to a new world on Christopher Columbus Day. Again, just another major FU. Another major FU to the people of the U.S. who are asleep at the switch. They didn't catch the headlines about the $5.2 billion. Remember, government equals 52, like authority, like the cabal. $5.2 billion more to shoot off the rocket to search for the new world on Columbus Day. And the sad thing is, I could probably be on the street and have people like, I don't get it. What's your point? It's like, don't remember in 13 years of slave school, learning about how he discovered the new world where the people already live, but somehow he's credited with the discovery because his storybook is written by the Catholic Church who paid him to sail over here. But no, sir, just seriously, think about it. You got all these problems like right here to deal with. You got crazy debt problems, and you're like, I need another 5.2. I guess maybe that is it. Maybe it's like, okay, we got somebody to give us the loan. We really do think we can fly out of here and escape all of our problems. I don't know. Maybe that is their logic at the end of the day, but it's still insanity. Maybe they think they really can't escape to the new world. We'll leave all the lemmings with all the bills. Problems we created for them. Be out in Jupiter's moon or the Europa Clipper. Give me a break, dude. A Clipper's a boat from Europe. It is just mass mockery. And Monday Night Football, they did it subtly. They had the team named after the cowboy beat Rogers, who came from the Packers, who were named after the Indian Packing Company. It's like the same thing every year on Columbus Day. They got some kind of joke of beating down the natives. Yankees smoke the Indians. Oh, never mind. They recalled them the Guardians. They're still the Indians. Yeah. Anyway, this is how CNN's covering the headlines tonight. Let's see how Fox is covering them. You get the Fair and Balanced over on Fox, a network founded by the Republican Party, which really isn't that much different than the Democrats at the end of the day. Rhetoric sounds different, policies not so much. And I don't know how nobody catches on to this game. Not to mention J.D. Vance, lifelong Democrat until recently. Donald Trump, lifelong Democrat until Obama was in office. Here's something else I got to say about the whole economy thing. If Donald Trump was if Donald Trump was the president right now, what would he be saying about the economy, you guys? Because he used the same line for why his economy was the greatest economy ever. What would he be saying right now? What did he say while he was in office? He always pointed to the market and how the Dow was at a record high. He'd say, see, I'm the greatest president with the greatest economy because the Dow's at a record high. So Kamala and Joe, I mean, their campaign should just be like, well, listen, we'll use the same metric as Trump. It's at a record high. It's all BS. I just get so sick of these political parties and how none of them use logical arguments. The real reason no party ever uses a logical argument against the other party is because they both do the same thing. They don't want people to have any logic or real understanding of what's going on, because then they'd see how both parties are at fault. They've both been printing money. They've both been adding to the inflation. They've both been making insane decisions. But yeah, again, Trump always said that he had the best economy ever because of how high the market is. Well, guess what? The market's even higher now than it was when he was in office. And that shows you the market's not a real reflection of how average American people are doing. And by the way, part of the reason things are so expensive is also because, yeah, Biden did come in and he stopped this pipeline. He said, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to stop this drilling. And the reason that appeals to some people is because those people really care about the earth and the environment, and they think that is preserving earth. And you know what? To an extent, it must be better for the earth, because if you've ever looked into drilling, it is very destructive. But yeah, making life super expensive for people too, because essentially, when part of the reason everything is expensive is because everything travels on trucks, and if diesel is costing double what it cost 4 or 5 years ago, then all of those prices are reflected in everything that got shipped, whether it's food or furniture or weights at the store or anything. I mean, all of these things are coming on trucks. Everything's more expensive. And sure, so that is one thing that any administration could come in and do, is just fire back up the drilling, get the prices back down. But realize it's more than that too. It's more than that too. That's why they have these political parties, so they can play these stupid games. But pay attention. In the time that Biden stopped the X amount of drilling and cut off this pipeline, all of these oil companies have been recording record profits too. So that means that they're also making more on these higher prices. And again, who owns these political parties at the end of the day? It is all these big mega corporations, including big oil and big pharma and big agriculture. And there's really only like a handful of companies in every sector. And it's why you go to Washington, D.C. Yeah, there's some politicians there, but there's 5 times as many lobbyists that are all employed by these mega corporations that run almost every sector of our society and provide nearly every product to us that all of us are incurring expenses on. Almost everybody needs to put gas in their car to get to and fro. Almost everybody at this day and age shops at a grocery store, where there might seem like there's 50 to 100 different companies based on what you see on the packaging in the store. But then you start looking at who owns all these 50 different brands. It's like they all go back to Pepsi and Coke and maybe a few other companies. General Mills, Kellogg's. Is anyone left? I'm pretty sure everything is owned by one of those. Might have forgot one. But Yeah, again, it's my man right here, Kurt Vonnegut. You know, he wrote so many books, and, and one of his books is he wrote one of his books in the time of Richard Nixon, and he said that it was obvious that the country was en route to one company owning all things at some point in the future. And you can see how in the future there'll probably be like a Amazon Mart. It'll be like the merger of Amazon and Walmart. By that point, they own every newspaper, every cable company. They've bought up every last food agricultural company. They own all the distribution companies. They just got the whole damn thing. The post office doesn't even exist anymore. It's it's now just Amazon subsidized by the taxpayers. So, but yeah, here one other thing I wanted to address is you guys might recognize this guy. He's been around for a long time. It is fighting the illegitimacy of government and taxation, and I respect all that. But anytime one of his videos pops up in my feed, I'm usually pretty disappointed in what. Yeah, I'm like, man, okay, he's very good at arguing the logic of why government is overwhelmingly bad, and for all the people who don't think it is, I mean, what's happened in the age of government? Here's my simple argument. Before the Europeans came to America, there were tribes here, and they hadn't destroyed the whole place. There was still a beautiful natural landscape. People were living in balance with nature. There wasn't just needless war and chaos all over. You know, there weren't points in history where the river could be lit on fire because there were so many toxins in it, like what was going on in Ohio. All of this stuff has happened in the time of government coming to this land. And does that mean that for all the people who see this utopia in government, I mean, sure, there could be a sensible government that did make things better, but where has that happened in the world? They say the truest thing there ever was to a democracy was when the tribes that lived in this nation would meet in regions and work things out amongst themselves so they could benefit each other. They say that probably the purest democracy there ever was what was going on with the tribes here before the Europeans brought over their government and their holy books. And yeah, I mean, you look at what government is, it's essentially just people wanting to control and rule over other people and take other people's resources and use it to their own benefit. And again, I mean, we're so deep in the game now. People have been so brainwashed and made into such weak, incompetent things largely through government. Government who took you out of your own household and put you into their slave school where you learned no real schools. You just learned his story. And then you get out and you get your piece of paper and you realize you don't know shit about shit. You don't know how to do anything your grandfather did. You know, your grandfather used to build houses. You know, your grandfather who didn't go to that much school, he had all these real skills that he learned from his grandfather and father back before everybody was, being put into the slave school system. So anyway, I want to play this clip right here. Larkin Rose. This is his name, Larkin Rose. You probably heard this guy's name before. You might be familiar with his work, but outside of what I would say providing no shit information, a lot like Mark Passio does, who he associates with. Like Mark Passio's whole thing is natural law, and at the end of the day, natural law to me is like it boils down to, hey, if you go out and you're a better person, you're going to make the world a better place. If you're not, you're going to make it a worse place. Like, yeah, no shit. No shit. And what's funny about Mark Passio is I don't think he's making the world a better place through his own actions and what he actually puts out into the world, but I do understand his older natural law teachings. They are good, and for a lot of people who don't know shit about shit, it wouldn't be the worst thing to experience. But here, I just want to listen to Larkin Rose. He was on this thing about how people are questioning the hurricanes that just passed through Florida, and I'm just gonna let it play. But that's what this video was about, and how he's doubting that like governments can have much of an impact on weather. And were arguments he was making in here about how many people just put out trash content online for attention, and because of all that trash content, it buries things that should be seen and heard. Yeah, I know that that's very true. Like right now, the most popular Gematria channel is probably the worst Gematria decoder there ever was. And again, I would say that's a co-opted thing, and Google's done that on purpose. Their channel grew rapidly, one horrible decode and false prediction after the next, and somehow they became the first Gematria channel to reach over 100,000 views. And the work they just did on Milton was horribly embarrassing. But essentially, he was speaking to that about how much just trash content is burying stuff that people need to see. And in a way, I'd say, well, maybe that's the reason Larkin Rose hasn't found our work somehow, And then maybe he wouldn't be making this video an argument that he's making here. That's the irony of his video. So I'm going to respond to what Larkin Rose said here. And if anybody wants to send this to Larkin Rose, because he said he did want a response, just tell him it starts around the 40-minute mark of this video, because that's where we are. So here's Larkin. We'll let him play, and then I'll again respond. Here we go.
Which is a clever move, and it works because most people repeat shit when they don't understand anything about it. So, I guess I won't rant any longer. I'm not even saying government can't do that. Seems pretty stinking unlikely. Like, create a hurricane. Seems pretty unlikely to me. I'm not even ruling out the possibility. What I am saying is the vast majority of people out there completely sure that government did this have absolutely no reason to think that, except somebody else made the claim and it was sensational and it got their attention. And when they forward that claim and they repeat it, they get attention. They get rewarded for spreading something that they know nothing about. That is how you bury the truth, including the truth about conspiracies that really are easy to prove and document and all that. And so I know a bunch of people will be pissed off at me. So if you're going to be pissed off, here's what you do. In the comments below, give an actual explanation how the hell you think somebody can generate a hurricane with that much moisture in it. We're talking like billions of tons of moisture. You can't make it spontaneously appear. It comes from somewhere. H2O comes from somewhere. It doesn't magically appear in the clouds. So if somebody can actually attempt an explanation of how the hell the government would do that, cool, I'm all ears, or eyes. I'll read it and see if there's actually any foundation. I have yet to meet anything or see anything from any of the people spreading this that comes anywhere an explanation of how the hell they would do it. I hear lots of them mentioning, oh, they have a patent on weather control. Yeah, I've read it. It's boring and lame. It's throwing 50 pounds of dry ice into the heart of a hurricane to see if it does anything. And then that one moved, and somebody said, there, we made it move. And one of the other people involved said, we didn't make that happen. Okay, that's not creating a hurricane out of nothing. That's them trying to tinker with stuff. And anyway, you get the point. If you're pissed off at me and you can give evidence to actually back up the claim, do. Because if you have actual evidence, then I'll look at it, and if it's actual evidence, I'll go, oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen any yet. I've seen a huge number of people forwarding stuff.
Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to leave it there. Everything he's saying is not invalid. And again, he obviously hasn't done that much homework because all he knows about is the dry ice. Remember, it was in the 1940s when the General Electric scientists Schaefer and Vonnegut, again, the brother of Kurt Vonnegut, made the discoveries about how you can attract moisture and create rainfall, and a lot of it. And the first discovery was through Schaefer of dry ice, but the second one was the more significant one, which is the one that's still used to this day in cloud seeding and making rainfall, and that is silver iodine. And again, China now fires rockets into the sky with this chemical, this crystalline formula, which attracts moisture and creates rainfall. And in light of these things being from the 40s discoveries, it's only logical to think that they figured out more sense. And anybody who knows anything about our government and its military knows it has a massive black budget and is super secretive. So what was revealed in the 40s and is known and is provable for how these things can influence storms and add to the amount of precipitation and flooding, I mean, that's a starting point. Again, you have to work with what information is available to you. And again, we've been documenting very specific patterns with these storms and hurricanes now for over a decade and accurately forecasting when these things will happen and the type of ritualism to look to go with it. Again, case in point, Hurricane Helene formed on the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech to the United Nations, September 25th, 1961. And of course, there's a lot more to say about that. But then shortly after that came Milton. And again, it's just like what happened with the Maui Hurricane Dora being blamed for knocking down the power lines that started the fire. And remember, they had to tell you that the only woman whose house survived in the neighborhood, her name was Dora, and she was an autistic painter who just painted pictures of power lines. Again, all this stuff they put out in the news shows there's some kind of ritualism going on here. But again, Hurricane Dora hit Hawaii 4 years to the day of Dora the Explorer, the cartoon, concluding. And Hurricane Milton makes landfall on Florida, on the anniversary of Milton the Monster, the cartoon, debuting in 1965, 59 years earlier. And as we talked about, it mostly impacted the Tampa area in the time of the 59th mayor. And it made landfall 59 days after the anniversary of the HARP patent from August 11th. And again, the mayor's name is Jane Castor, and Castor and Pollux. They have a celebration feast date of July 15th, which is the same birthday as Tampa. And again, Castor and Pollux are associated with athletes, and they literally tore down the Tropicana Hotel to make way for the Athletics the same day that Tropicana Field got its roof ripped off. And they just happened to have Anderson Cooper on CNN in Bradenton, Florida. Supposedly, unless he was in a Hollywood room with a green screen, like when he was supposedly at the SH school after the shooting. But Bradenton's where Tropicana was created. And remember, Tropicana was established in 1947, the same year that the U.S. military conducted their first experiment with a hurricane, October 13th, 47, Project Cirrus, as we talked about. And then again in 62, from 62 to 83, the U.S. military was experimenting with hurricanes. Again, for 21 years, the military experimenting with hurricanes, ending in 83. And then, again, Helene formed in a big 83 ritual. Milton made landfall on the day leaving 83 days left in the year. Again, you learn gematria. Milton equates to 83. Like flood, like earth, like Genesis 8:3 is where the biblical flood ends. Again, we are a people who are being kept in the dark. Okay, if that's what he needs the whole kit and caboodle of all the science that's being used and executed to make these storms happen as ritualistically as they do. That's not really a realistic standpoint. You're not going to get that unless you have your revolution and you overthrow the government and military and you get to all the documents and all the crucial evidence, all the stuff that's hidden behind, the black budget, all the stuff that's kept out of the public eye. You're not going to have all of the answers. That's why you have to use all the information and evidence that's within the public's reach, which is what I've been doing for over 11 years. And through this knowledge, we've been able to make all kinds of accurate predictions for storms and destruction and the ritualism and how they'll tie it in with the world of sports. And it goes on year after year, and I'm talking about the same stuff year after year. Just like how when Maui burned down and it was perfectly synced with The Rock and his introduction of the live action Moana film where he's Maui the fire god. Again, we could go back and revisit all that, but I was saying from that time on, I said just wait until he turns 52 on May 2nd. You're going to see a crazy hurricane season, and it's all going to be synced with The Rock. Not to mention you'll see some earthquakes synced with his San Andreas film. We've been right about all this. Again, if you're out there, You and Mark Passio are the two kinds of guys who've been sleeping on what I've been trying to get guys like you to share with your audience. Learn this code of letters and numbers, the alphabetic order in reverse, the reverse alphabetic order with numerology, the alphabetic order with numerology, the 4 base ciphers of the English language. Hurricane Helene formed on, again, September 25th, the anniversary of JFK's weather control speech given to the United Nations in 1961. That's the day leaving 97 days left in the year. It was synced perfectly with The Rock's 52nd birthday on 5/2. It formed 146 days after his birthday. It also formed 56 days before the face of the nation's birthday, Joe Biden. And remember, when Harvey flooded Houston on the 52-date numerology, August 27th, 17, it was 52-date numerology. It was the 239th day of the year, the 52nd prime. Then Matt Harvey's the first pitcher to pitch in Houston, right before the World Series that the Astros win that began 52 days later in their 56th season. Again, Hurricane Helene also equals 146. It also equals 83. Again, like flood, like earth, like Enlil. This hurricane formed 83 days before the Pope's birthday, the first Jesuit Pope, when the first act of weather warfare was admitted to on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, 1952. What day did Helene form? It formed on 25/9. What town got wiped out up in the Carolinas? The one on the 79th parallel. 79th meridian. Milton ends up making landfall on the day leaving 83 days left in the year. It made landfall 34 days before the Superior General's birthday, the leader of the Jesuits. It hit Tampa Bay. You see how Tampa Bay's, or you see how Milton's also 79 like Tampa Bay, where the Devil Rays are. And here, the point I just made about athletics, Tropicana. Whoops, I spelled it wrong. Hold on. Athletics, Tropicana, Hurricane. Again, look. They are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. The exact same in 3 out of the 4. The Tropicana is demolished again in Vegas to make room for the Athletics' new stadium. As a hurricane makes landfall back where Tropicana orange juice was set up the same year as the first hurricane experiment in U.S. military history, 1947, Project Cirrus. And again, Tropicana Field loses its top. And by the way, Tropicana Field, it's another 83. Going with Milton being 83 and it happening on the day leaving 83 days left in the year. And then, here, let me just pull up the post, too, that I did on this so I don't have to retype out everything here. Remember, Jose Canseco of the Athletics was the last thing shown on TV before it cut to fuzz in the 1989 World Series earthquake, which came exactly 24 weeks after The Rock's birthday, who's in the San Andreas movie. 89 is the 24th prime. But The Rock, or not The Rock, but consider Jose Canseco, who's part of that 1989 World Series earthquake with the Athletics. He also ended up playing for the Tampa Bay Rays. Think about that, too. His baseball career extended there. And, again, if you go back and look, this stadium that got its top ripped off, let me see. I know I got it here. By the way, just all be in sync with The Rock. Remember, The Rock was inspired by somebody with Down syndrome named Milton back when he was watching his dad wrestle in Tampa Bay. We were reading that story about just how planned out all this stuff is. But 10/9, October 9th, Jose Canseco, The Rock, military weather. Again, that earthquake that hit on October 17th, 89 was 107 days after Canseco's birthday. Earthquake and military. But hold on. Look at this right here. Tropicana Field opened not long after that earthquake. It opened on March 3rd. Keep in mind, Jose wore 33. March 3rd, 1990. That was 137 days after the earthquake. And Tampa Bay equals 137. And 137 is the 33rd prime number. And the first game after the earthquake, when they made up the game, it was moved to October 27th. The earthquake happened right before Game 3 started. Remember, it happened at 5:04 p.m. 5:04, key digits 54, like baseball's 54, like Jesuit orders 54, 54 outs in a game. But the score when they came back was 13-7, and the game lasted 3 hours and 3 minutes. Candlestick, like that's what you got to get out when the power's out after a major storm or earthquake. You know? That's right. The same day that happened, the Dodgers beat the Padres 8-0, the Rock 80. Did you guys see there was just a major earthquake in Costa Rica on the day leaving 80 days left in the year? If you missed that, on the day leaving 80 days left in the year, which was 4 days ago, big earthquake in Costa Rica. It was also 163 days after the Rock's birthday. So I'm gonna have to go look through the Rock's filmography. Does he have something connected to Costa Rica? It makes me wonder. Something tells me that wasn't an accident. But again, Jane Castor, Castor and Pollux, they represent athletes. This ritual at the athletics, how perfectly planned and coordinated all of this is. The storm just hit on her 1989th day in office. 1989th day in office, like how this is all part of it, connected back to that 1989 World Series earthquake. The current mayor of Oakland, Chinese, where they admit to doing weather warfare, where they admit to doing cloud seeding with the old Bernard Vonnegut, brother of Kurt Vonnegut, cloud seeding technique. Again, if you never read Cat's Cradle, his book is in part about the mad scientist that his brother was a part of for General Electric. But again, it even happened 83 days after her birthday. You know, on the day leaving 83 days left in the year. Her name, Shang Tao, fits in with the whole hurricane thing, the ritualism. Again, this is why guys like these kind of guys drive me nuts. They sit here and they sit in the same lane and they hang around for 10 years and everyone knows their name, but all they talk about is the same shit over and over. It's like, how do I make another video about how government's bad? Oh, here, let me reword it a little bit different way this day. Government's bad. Here, another video on government's bad. Taxation's bullshit. How do I just say the same thing again over? And that's all they do. And then when they do talk about other things, they always kind of like casting doubt on it. Like, look at me. All I know is one thing. Taxes are bad and so is government. So that's all I talk about. Maybe don't even try to dismiss anything else then, because you don't have enough information yourself. And it's such a dumb point of view, Larkin Rose. And not to mention, Rose means secrecy, and I do wonder about all these people whose names are out there. Like, Larkin Rose has had Hollywood work with him, and he has some movie out there about somebody's plantation, which is just more no-shit information. Yeah, a lot of people do need the no-shit information, but for any of us who have a brain, it's like, okay, that's really not that interesting. And see, at the end of the day, Larkin Rose, you don't have enough information. To be doubting that the military is having a major influence on the weather just shows how ignorant you are in 2024. And no, I still can't tell you every last thing they're doing, but 1947 is when the research began, so we're coming up on the 100th anniversary. You can look at the way all other technologies improved in this lifetime. You can look at the quotes from people like Lyndon Johnson, who controls the weather, controls the world, which is back before you were even born, and you can realize that, yes, something obviously is going on, because these storms continue to do this year after year with these perfectly coordinated rituals that are then perfectly connected to their rig sports leagues, and it's just rinse and repeat every single year. It shows you what a well-oiled machine we're in. And is sorcery a part of it? I wouldn't doubt it, to be perfectly honest. You know, they try to make you think magic's for kids' cartoons and Disney movies, the magical world of Disney. Don't forget, there's a lot of 201s with Disney. He was De Molay, most famous member of De Molay ever. And De Molay's named after the Templars. Again, the Templar cross in the middle of the Jesuit Order's logo. But yeah, it's just, you can't have unrealistic expectations when you're asking civilians to prove what's going on. That said, I don't think anybody's done better research in the history of weather warfare and brought more pieces together. Again, everybody should look into Operation Cirrus, Project Storm Fury, which went from 62 to 83, the military experimenting with hurricanes, Project Popeye. By the way, The Rock also played the character Popeye. Project Popeye during Vietnam. I mean, these things are all admitted by the U.S. military. Cloud seeding, shooting the potassium iodide rockets up in the sky to create the rainfall. And realize that's what happens a lot with these hurricanes too, right? They overstate how bad the hurricane is, but then the rain sits around for days and just keeps dumping. That's been a huge problem or a huge pattern with a lot of these storms too. Scaring way more about the winds of the hurricane that end up being not as bad as they say, but then the rain sits around and causes the destruction through the flooding. And again, that's just like the Lynmouth flood admitted to on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th, 1952. Again, shooting those rockets up there to attract the rainfall that does bring down the billions of gallons of water, that does kill people and destroy property. So, yeah, I mean, the hurricane could actually be the thing that maybe they can steer and guide a little bit and get it in the region where they want to, bring in the rainfall. It might be something along those lines if you really pay attention to what they do. It's just like Harvey was like that. Remember, Harvey made landfall, but then it was days later. And just like I said, just watch. It's going to end up August 27th. It's going to be the day that, here, again, it's just the same stuff over and over. Rock you like a hurricane. If you go back to Harvey, you can read Vice News' hit piece on me from 2017 for what I exposed about that, calling out why the World Series is going to be the Astros over the Dodgers when the damn thing happened. But yeah, the band, the Scorpions, are also part of this ritual. Here, where's my Scorpions post? It's my earthquake post. I put it down at the bottom. Look, it's the same damn thing. When Helene just formed, it formed 239 days after the anniversary of Rock You Like a Hurricane coming out. Synced with The Rock, as we just talked about. 239 is the 52nd prime. Scorpions 52 like Hurricane. I was saying when Harvey was making landfall, I said, watch, it's going to devastate the state on the anniversary of Stevie Ray Vaughan's death, whose best-selling album was Texas Flood, which is the 239th day of the year, the 52nd prime, and this year, which was 2017 at the time, 8 plus 27 plus 17, 52 date numerology. Scorpions and Hurricane 52. Oh, I wonder why this German band, like where those mad Nazi scientists were from, who wanted to control the weather. I wonder why they chose this German band for this song. Again, 146 days after The Rock's birthday, Helene forms by the numbers. And again, the same day that the hurricane formed, you had a big windstorm out here in eastern Washington. Cam Ward, who's now the quarterback of the Miami Hurricanes, where The Rock played football at. Cam Ward, his birthday is the 146th day of the year in a leap year, May 25th. Just like the singer of the Scorpions' birthday is the 146th day in a leap year. His name, Cameron Ward's 52 like Hurricane. I mean, Manchurian athletes, things planned out way in advance. The world of entertainment always connected to this stuff, just like Monster the Milton, just like Dora the Explorer. No, you don't need every last understanding of how they're doing it. What you need the understanding of is that they've been researching it for nearly 100 years. They're mocking the shit out of you. And you can see it once you have the knowledge of this little Kabbalistic code of letters and numbers, and you can see just how their whole world of entertainment is structured around it. I mean, how are you making this video and rather than pointing out like, you know what, maybe I need to look into is I don't know how they do this, but I do find it weird they tore down the Tropicana Hotel this morning, and then Tropicana Fields getting the roof torn off on the same day. Baseball team. And they tore down the casino for another baseball team, and I don't expect everybody off the top of their head to remember that the 1989 World Series earthquake, the last thing that was shown on TV was Jose Canseco, but that's what we're here for. And I just get tired of these people whose names are known out there, and they're really not providing that great of information. Like, I would wager that a lot more people in the world know the names Larkin Rose and Mark Passio than yours truly, and that's actually a detriment to the world, because these guys have kept people at a very elementary level. Their work is meant for people who need that first elementary step, but it's like you have to move beyond kindergarten. You have to move beyond first grade. These guys, a lot of people need kindergarten and first grade. It is the start. But then you got to graduate. You got to move on to the higher levels. I'm sorry, natural law, it is interesting, but it really is like tying your shoes. It's like, yeah, okay, if you're a better person, the world will be a better place. Wow. I mean, should have learned that when you were 5 years old. So... That's the problem, man. Most people didn't even ever make it through kindergarten, so that they can't do the the university level courses we're offering over here. Unfortunately, they're just going to keep tuning into the nightly news and let it do their thinking for them. Oh yeah, well, I like this news network the best, and I agree most with the people in the suits on there. So I think I'm going to go do what they told me to do today. Yeah, I'm going to vote for that one. Should I put my mask back on? Oh, I should get my booster this year. Okay. Like, nobody's doing any of that who has any critical thinking skills. No, TV goes off. We don't care what those idiots have to say. There's been one word of truth out of any of these cable news networks, mainstream news networks, none of them. Another guy just, it's just no real investigative journalism, nothing. So, shout out to Valentino G. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thank you again to Paula the Kitchen Witch. It was 180 pounds of dry ice dropped in Project Cirrus, huh? 180. Interesting. Paula's doing her homework. All right, let's go on to Green Kid 1988. What's up, Green Kid? You got to unmute your mic.
Yo, what's going on? So what numbers equate to? I'm sorry, am I echoing?
Oh, hold on. Oh, my bad. I got to switch the audio settings back. That's my fault. But now, go ahead.
Okay, what numbers equate to, or what terms equate to 367 that is of great significance?
Listen, man, if you want to come on with some number, then have a reason ready to go with it. I mean,
okay, no, I was just saying because I was trying to calculate. So there's a group, a British group, an English group that came out of England, obviously. They're called Take That, and their album, which is Progress, starts. The first song on there is The Flood, and they're a pop group, and they don't seem like a very like religious type of band or whatever, but that's the basis of all their, like, just the songs that are on their album. The first track is The Flood on their their 2010 album, because I was trying to calculate from the day that they released their album to when One Direction released their album, and trying to see if there was any significant. The number that stuck out to me was 3.
I'm going to give you some advice right now. The time to present something is when you've done enough homework to understand what you're looking at.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I was just gonna add that, but yeah.
All right, appreciate it, man. Thank you. Let's go out to Evan. What's up, Evan?
All right, I was just doing a live stream where I was talking about Pearl Harbor and the USS Arizona, and I found out that the USS Arizona helped out in like the rescue efforts or whatever you want to call it for an earthquake in Long Beach in 1933. And the connection between this 1933 Long Beach earthquake and Pearl Harbor is that not only was the USS Arizona involved in both of them, but this Long Beach earthquake was on March 10th, which is the 69th day of the year. And, Illuminati is 69, and then the variant Illuminati is 127. Pearl Harbor is on 12/7. And they say that on the Wikipedia page, it says that 120 people died. Illuminati is also 120. And then if you go down on the Wikipedia page, it's funny. It says in 2016, they found out that it may have been man-made. So it's kind of mockery in a way. It's like they know that it's like they give a reason for why it may have been man-made. It said it could have been like fracking or something. But I mean, it's just they may have had this technology 100 years ago, and I mean, who knows how long they've really had it, but it goes to show that even when they do let the truth out, it's so far beyond when it actually happened that no one even knows. No one really cares, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do.
And hold on, let's see if I had one more thing. Oh yeah, also, I don't know if you've done the gematria of USS Arizona, but that equals 127.
Yeah, they sure like the old 127, the 31st prime, and 31 is the 11th prime. Again, buildings 1, 2, and 7 on the big master number 11 ritual in New York, the 11th state on 9/11. 127 was the number with what they did to Maui too. Remember all the 127s. burning up Maui. And of course, Hawaii is connected to Pearl Harbor, December 7th. You might recall they sent Joe Biden over there 13 days later, like how Hawaii was overthrown by the Committee of 13. But Joe Biden showed up for the state's 64th birthday when Joe Biden and Maui equal 64. It's just frustrating that this stuff hasn't gone viral and people aren't sharing this information. Again, a guy like Larkin Rose, who speaks out against the federal government, should be the first guy sharing this kind of information about how ritualistic the government is, rather than questioning like, oh, I'm not sure that those are their capabilities. Because kind of guys like him, part of their lane is to keep it like it, making it seem like everything government does is incompetent and they don't really have that much ability, which I think is a false argument. I'd say the government's very capable, and that's why they have governments across the world have their people on hands and knees obeying their BS. But anyhow, go ahead, Evan.
I guess the one last thing that I had is that you were talking about 80, and I found out that the first ever Japanese player in MLB is 80 years old right now. And there's something significant about his birthday. What was it? Oh, he was born 106, or I shouldn't say he was born, but his birthday is 169 days before Ichiro's birthday. And the World Series, they said the World Series could move up the start date to October 22nd, which is Ichiro's birthday. And I think Ichiro Suzuki equals 169. So I think they have these players connected, and they have their birth dates planned out decades in advance.
Yeah, I saw you were doing a stream on that. It's funny, at the beginning of the year, they had it listed that the World Series would begin October 22nd, but then they shifted it to October 25th at some point just on their website. So we'll see what they end up doing.
Yeah, they said if both of the LCSs end in Game 5 or Game 4, then it'll move up. So,
okay, at the beginning of the year, that was the date posted initially. So we'll see.
All right, that's all I've got. Thanks, Zach.
All right, appreciate it, Evan. All right, freedom is near. What's up, freedom is near? Freedom is near. Hello. Well, we'll have to come back to freedom is near. I'll keep you in the back room. Freedom is near while you get it figured out. What's up, Jay?
What's up? I just wanted to. I didn't know if you saw the message I sent you. It's about the. It's about the Spider-Man. No.
Oh, you cut out. You said it's about the Spider-Man note, and then it cut out.
Oh my God.
You came back. Now I hear you. I heard the oh my God.
All right, fucking the headphones. I guess my headphones fucking up. But it was the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. Basically, it seemed like they were doing a lot of predictive programming for the Mets winning the World Series, because you have to watch like the video like I sent you, but there's a YouTuber that made a video on it. His name is Plane, Plane Decoded. Plane Decoded. I know you said you had I think, well, I'm not gonna say it. I don't know if you want me to say who you have for the World Series on stream, because I don't know you want that to be a secret for the Patreon. But I know what team you had as for clearing the World Series. But in light of what was in the Spider-Man movie, I wanted you to see that and know your thoughts on that, because they're like pretty much. It's like they're pretty much telling us that the Mets were going to win the World Series. And the only thing I'm thinking is like, okay, maybe it's too fucking obvious, because it was literally just like perfect how they had it in the movie. And I never saw the movie because I didn't want to support, Marvel and shit after what they did with Chadwick Boseman. But now I'm like, maybe I should have saw it, because it seemed to be a lot of predictive programming over that shit. But yeah, that was really mainly, I just wanted you to take a look at that. But yeah, the people that act like they can't, like, that the government, the government pretends. I feel like what they do with Joe Biden and him falling down the stairs and shit, or like on the jet. They pretend to do shit like that so that we think, oh, they're not fucking capable and all this other shit. But we can literally see the patterns over and over again. They're undeniable. Just because people will look at all the shit you did, all the shit I did, all the shit we all do, and then be like, oh, well, no, that's discredited by the fact that nigga that you don't personally think that they could do this. It's like, because humans are not like that. I'm like, how do you, like, we're dumbed down because of all the bullshit entertainment and all the stuff they've laid out for us and all that shit. But it's like, if you these people weren't the victims of that. Like, you know, motherfuckers can create the pyramids and have them mathematically perfectly lined up in sync with the fucking constellation and shit. Each point of the pyramid pointing to each of the stars and shit. So we know that people have done things in literal mathematical rituals and shit. So all throughout history, this has been a thing. It's just people being fucking ignorant and people just, again, just having very poor mentalities and closed-minded, very closed-minded about shit.
Yeah, a lot of very closed-minded, ignorant people who think they know it all and they don't know anything.
They
So,
don't even do the fucking research for it. It's like we're almost 100 years later of them discovering how to modify the weather, and people still think it's like crazy. I'm like, what? All these ambitious ass weather experiments they fucking did for decades and decades. Like, well, we know they were interested in being able to control hurricanes. So just because they fucking told you, oh, well, it was quote unquote unsuccessful or there wasn't enough proof, I'm getting, in light of everything we show, there must have been something that they kept from us. Like, people, that's what I noticed about people too, is they need every fucking shoelace tied for them. Like, if you can't explain to them every single mechanism behind something, then they just tune you out. They're like, oh, well, why didn't they do it this way? Then you explain that. Then they move the goalpost and they're like, well, what impact does it have on your life? And I'm like, this has every impact on our life. Like, what the fuck do you not get?
well, again, it's why I mean, just people.
Cognitive
The
dissonance.
things people say just drive me nuts too. It's like, what impact does that have? It's like, what?
Yeah,
Your government doing this? You don't understand the impact it has on your life.
exactly.
You pay any
Like,
bills? You know how much insurance
what?
is right now because of what's going on? How
Exactly.
much
Like, it
taxes are
all
you paying
impacts
for
us.
the next war that we're going to subsidize and fight overseas that has nothing to do with
Exactly.
no,
If
guess
I show you 9/11, motherfuckers like, oh, what impact is that? I'm like, cause they could do a fucking another one. Like, the fuck? And that's what the fuck they did. It was just in the form of a pandemic.
yeah, no, I
Fuck.
mean, and that's they want a dumb population because it's easy to control a dumb population. You see the advantage of it. It is
Yeah.
a purposeful dumbing down of the country. That's the point I keep making. You can tell that humanity before they were in slave school was a lot more capable. They
Right.
didn't have to go to the grocery store. No, they made their own food. They didn't need
Exactly.
somebody to come build their house for them. They knew how to build it themselves.
Exactly.
People were self-sufficient. What the state
Exactly.
did was made everybody dependent on a system that they can control so that they can control you.
And
And
we did. No, I was just gonna say, and we didn't even have the fucking choice to opt out. Like, people always try to justify like us paying taxes and shit. They're like, oh, well, we're paying them for a service, and I'm like, for one, they're not even honest about where all the money goes. They spend the money on a whole bunch of other shit that we don't even consent to. And even if they did, again, they don't give us the option to opt out. Imagine they literally need us to be dependent on them to be able to fucking do what they do. Imagine if I went across the street to my neighbor and put a gun in his head and said, hey, I'm finna fucking mow your grass, mow your lawn for you, and you're gonna have to give me 20% of your paycheck every fucking 2 weeks because I'm mowing your lawn for you. That's literally the same things be saying, well, yeah, you're paying me for my service, but
well,
he
not
never
20%,
asked me to
but
do
yeah,
that.
they'll take 30% of
Like,
your
what the
paycheck.
fuck?
They'll take 30% of your paycheck and come mow your
Yeah.
lawn. Yeah,
It's like I never asked you to do that. I wanted to do that so I wouldn't have to give you 20%, but that's what they did to us. That they keep having a reason to bribe us and distort us. Fucking ridiculous.
Exactly. And then they send you to slave school so that you learn how great your country is and how great the system is, and you're the freest person ever was, even though you didn't have any choice even being in that slave.
Exactly. I
But
was
see,
born
that's
with a fucking
because
number
our
on my
ancestors
name.
stop this. Here
Fuck.
we are now, where now you have the society of people that are just really dumb. They have no skills. They are totally dependent on the system. It's like it's been built at this point. And you see, that's also why they've erected these stones about reducing the Earth's population. At the same time, AI and all these things are coming. They don't need a
Exactly.
society of slaves to build the pyramids for them, if you will, anymore. They've now gotten the world to a certain point where they don't need very many of us anymore. They got machines to do the work, and now they want to save the Earth from climate change and people taking shits everywhere, and everything else is a big part of the problem. So they got to get you out of here. And
Right.
in a sense, I totally get the sentiment of where they're coming from when I look at, and I think you do too, just looking at humanity and how dumb people are and how annoying they are. But it is sad to think that it was a very sophisticated and group of mad evil geniuses who came and installed these kind of governments across the world and got people to bow down to them. Humanity still does have a fighting chance. So we still do live in a nation where there's somewhat of a First Amendment. We're able to get on here for the time being and get out some information.
Right.
We still I'm pretty well armed in my closet. I mean, if everybody was down for the cause, I feel like we could have one last hurrah and get them out of here. But then the problem is that what everyone says, well, then what? What do we do without mommy and daddy around, which is their government? We need mommy and daddy to keep the power on and the sewers running. What am I going to do if there's no Cheetos at the grocery store? I mean, that's all of these
and that's why that's why I feel like there needs to be like a changing of our culture before we like I can't remember where I heard this quote, but somebody said there needs to be an evolution before revolution, because we can get these niggas the fuck up out of here, but unless we know how to live without them already, it's just going to be the same shit. And where we allow because we don't know, we've been taken away from that life, and that's why a lot of people they want to stay in it, like they want to because they like being able to go to the store and get their favorite snack and shit like that. I mean, I just see how it is. I mean, it's now that I know, it's just sad. It's like, damn, it's like, but it's like, because I'm able to separate myself from this shit because I understand. To me, I just feel like I understand what matters in life, like actually, like. But a lot of people, it's just they buried. People are too buried in their addictions, and I understand it. I used to be one of those people, but I broke out of it. But a lot of people, they're not ready to.
Real quick, this came in the chat. So this guy right here leaves this comment. He says, check out Zach's daddy, Paul Unslaved. Taxation is voluntary. First of all, Paul Unslaved is a guy with, just a pathetic guy. There's a reason he won't come on my channel.
Yes, I don't know who that is.
But here's the thing. All of you guys who push this taxation is voluntary thing, maybe go listen to Larkin Rose, because he did some time in prison because he used to promote the same thing until the IRS came and sent him to prison, or the federal government did. There's a lot of people who have major bills to pay to the IRS because they tried to get around their taxes.
Exactly.
Taxation is voluntary is not true. Okay.
That's a retarded ass. Like what?
System where if you do not comply and they find out, they will punish you and they will enslave you even more.
It's literal extortion. That's why
there needs to be a revolution. So for anybody to come on here and promote Paul Unslaved, who mocks what I say about how there needs to be a revolt, Paul says, we don't need to revolt. We can just live like me. I go and drive down the street without a license plate and I end up in jail 9 out of 10 times. And exactly. I've learned that if I go find an abandoned cabin in the woods, I can just stay there. If this sounds like the lifestyle you want, where you're in and out of jail all the time and you want to go find an abandoned, dilapidated cabin in the woods, then that's the channel for you. If you want to think that there shouldn't be a revolution and talk shit about knowledge that's much greater than what you know, then Paul Unslaved's the channel for you. Paul Unslaved is also somebody that hangs around with a bunch of small caps. That's why he doesn't do streams on Saturday, and I think he's one of them too. So if you want to end up in the prison cell and the IRS beating down your door, go watch a Small Cap Polly. Okay.
Exactly. It's just like, do you remember Zach, do you remember when you first got a job? Do you remember them asking you if you wanted to pay taxes? Do you remember them asking you that shit? I don't remember them asking me that shit. The taxes just came off my shit.
It's just like the Marvin Gaye song from the 70s. They get the money before you see it.
And even if you press exempt, like you just gonna have to give it all back eventually. Like they're gonna get their shit. Like, what about any of this shit was ever voluntary? Like, fuck. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot of people are content with this shit, and again, to a degree, I understand why. A lot of people have families, things that don't want to lose and shit like that. But at the same time, we got to understand this shit is killing us in the long run. And eventually, like what they're foreshadowing, it will get to the point where we're all on our own anyway, because we see that they're bringing us towards chaos. They're engineering this shit. All this predictive programming about the apocalypse and all this shit. I mean, we see what they plan to do to us. And I mean, it's just, we're already back down a bad road, and it's because of them. Like all all this shit, all this food, these handful of companies that control everything. Again, it should have never even been like this. This is where all these problems are stemming from. It should have never fucking been like this. We should have stayed on a community based level where we're growing our own food, raising our own animals, doing our own everything. We're completely self sufficient for the most part. So it's like it's like, but again, people, they don't want to give up certain things, and that's why a lot of people will try to make excuses when you try to explain this shit to them, and they'll try to jump to you debunk one point, and then they'll try to jump to the next point. You debunk this, you debunk that. They're like, well, somebody should have came out about that. Then you tell them about Manly P. Hall in 1920s book, Secret Teachings of All Ages. You tell them this and that. Then they're like, well, I just don't think they will be able to pull this off. I mean, just think about think about the regular human. Think about the average person. The average person can't do this. Yeah, because the average person is fucking dumb. Like, because we've been dumbed down. Like, we know that we can follow a system if we set it up. Again, if they can build the pyramids, they can code letters and the numbers. That's nothing compared to the amount of mathematical. I mean, how the fuck do you even? How the fuck could you possibly align? Make? I mean, it's like how could you possibly like be able to fucking like make sure like the pyramids, like the tip of the pyramids would align with the fucking constellations? Like that's ridiculous. Like you can see that people can do that, but you can't believe that we can create an alphabet based off of a numerical system, which is something that you can look up and see several ancient civilizations doing. Then when you say that, they're like, oh what impact does it have on our lives? And I'm like, literally has everything to do with your fucking life, because these things that they do, and these are the same people that'll be like, oh man, you got to go out and vote. You don't vote, you don't got to write a complaint. But I'm like, nigga, we're showing you this shit to get you to understand that these events that they have planned are gonna happen anyway, and they do affect our life. I had to sit at home the whole fucking year, COVID. Couldn't see my mom for my 18th birthday. Couldn't see anybody. I had to stay in the fucking house. You know how much damage that did to my mental as an 18-year-old teen, not even 18 years old yet. I was still 17. I was just about to turn 18, and I had to fucking sit in the house. I mean, you know how much social damage that did to me, having to be in the fucking house all day, all this other shit, getting blamed. It's just all this fucking bullshit. Like my mind is so, just my mind, my mental is so much more unhealthier from what happened in these 4 years. And a lot of it stems from what I had to go through because of the fucking pandemic, from not being able to go back to school, from not wanting to go back to school because everything was fucking online, and me not being able to, it was just so much shit. It's like these things, then you got the physical, people getting sick, people, you have the inflation going up. It's just these things all have to do. And again, if they do another 9/11, that shit, like, another one that has more casualties, it can be where you are. It's just, it's way bigger than just rigging sports, which you can make money off of, but it's way bigger than that. It's to just show how sick these motherfuckers are, and eventually it'll come to the point where you may be a victim of these people. It's just people just don't want to think. That's what I realized.
Well, everyone's already a victim of these people, whether they realize.
Yeah, we're all a victim.
They're living in
Yeah.
their world, and a lot of the problems you actually
Exactly.
are is because of the society they've created. So
That's all I had to say, though.
all right, Jay. Well, stay strong,
All right.
buddy. Appreciate it.
All right.
Take care. All right. Freedom is near. I saw that when you were in the back room. You figured out you got your mic, your camera going. So let's try it again. Are you there? Freedom is near.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So yeah, I'm a student here in St. Louis, Missouri. I go to WashU, and me and my buddies, like, we follow your work, and like we had the idea, we've read all your books and stuff like that, and we just had an idea to like use your book as a script to make like short videos, like 5-minute videos. And I just wanted to like get your approval to see what would you think about that?
Anyone's allowed to use any of my work for free anytime. So, yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
I did reach out I couldn't email you the work, like the video, but I did text you. I don't know if you received it or not, but yeah. We're really interested in, like, I've been spreading the work on campus, and a lot of people are receptive. Like, intelligent people accept the work. It's just like the lower IQ people, they don't accept it. But like a lot of my friends, like I got like Oriental friends and stuff like that are on campus, and they're very intelligent. They catch on fast. So like
I haven't heard the word Oriental for a minute. Okay, they're still using that out in St. Louis. All right, yeah, those Asian ones do tend to be a little bit smarter.
yeah.
Okay,
So that's fine if we. Did you receive that text that I sent you?
here, listen. I've done this for other people. If you guys want to print my work and sell it and keep the money for yourself, you can do that. There's people doing that in the world right now. Somebody's reissuing my first book in volumes on Amazon, and I've given them permission to sell it and keep all the proceeds. They didn't write the book; they're just reissuing it in volumes. All I want is my work out there, and I haven't made a lot off my work, but I've made enough off my work. I'm all right. Anybody wants to get my work out there, it's fine. If I found out you were selling my book and putting your name on it, I wouldn't come and sue you or anything. I'd say, well, at least the work is getting out there. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear that. So Washington University, St. Louis area, you're spreading the word on campus. Very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Like people are receptive, and one thing I want you to know, like, far as like the algorithm goes and stuff like that, like I feel like they're like dismantling your channel. Like I've been following you for some years now, and you should see, like, one thing you should look at, Zach, like look at all the people like from different demographics that are calling you and reaching out to you. Your work it's out there, even though it's like it doesn't seem as big as it is. Like you've inspired even other channels. Like I don't approve of other channels like that spread the work, but like you inspired them. So like your work is like very inspirational, and yeah, man, it's people that are receptive to the work. It's just like you gotta wake up certain people that are willing to listen, like, so that's all. Like and I did send you that, so like if you could like try to view that and see what you think and give me some feedback. Yeah,
What email did you send it to?
I couldn't email you, I actually text you.
Oh, did you text the 509 number?
No, like it was like a 206 number.
Oh, you have my 206 number. Okay. What's your area code? 314?
314, yeah.
Oh, I see it. Okay, yeah, I'll text you back. I see it.
Okay, perfect, man. You take care, man. I really appreciate your work, and if you give good feedback, like that's just like a rough draft, but we can do way better. And yeah, we just want to spread the knowledge, man.
All right. Well, I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
All right, you take care.
All right, you too. All right, JD's in the. I got to get off here in about 5 minutes, JD. But you got 5 minutes. What's up?
Yo, can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for all the knowledge and all the teachings you've given the world. Like the last kid was saying, I think it goes a lot farther than you realize. Also, I'm not going to be able to get this done in 5 minutes, so cut me off whenever you feel free. But and I don't really have much to say about gematria specifically, but I've been with you for years, man, and there's obviously a massive truth there. But one of the things that you say a lot that I think we need to focus more on is how we're ruled over with this false knowledge, this false perception of reality, our false understanding of what the world truly is. And I've like kind of harassed you on Twitter about this a little bit before, and I'm sorry I didn't call in earlier, but I want to talk to you about the simulation hypothesis in the virtual reality, because I believe that there has been, I don't know really how to introduce it, but like, I'll just say like in 2003, an ex-NASA physicist, and I know how we feel about NASA, but it's a nuclear physicist, the guy who was instrumental in the foundation of the Monroe Institute. His name is Thomas Campbell. He wrote a book called My Big Toe. Toe is an acronym for theory of everything. A theory of everything is a moniker, I guess you could say. So it's something that Einstein popularized, and it is basically a model of reality which attempts to unify all the different forms of science into one overarching understanding of everything that has great explanatory power over all the different aspects of life. Now, the theory of everything, Tom Campbell's big toe, it's really just a model of consciousness. And I'm a truth seeker. I've been at this since 2015, since I got kicked out of the Marine Corps. And my friend put me on to Crowley. And I blame him for my craziness now and like all the theories that I'm spouting to my family and stuff. But he put me onto you, and um, I discovered Tom Campbell in like 2017 or something. And if you look into him, you'll see that he was instrumental in creating the gateway process at the CIA. You know, they declassified that document, put it on their website, and they kind of sum up everything that was being taught at the Monroe Institute by Bob Monroe in the Gateway Voyage, which he termed, which is a means of entering altered states of consciousness to go out of body and essentially roam around. That's what Bob was doing, is roaming around the astral plane, or the reality of consciousness. Tom Campbell, as a scientist, a nuclear physicist for however long, over 40 years he was a physicist, became introduced to Monroe. Monroe hired him to help him study this phenomena. He did that for however long until he split off and did his own thing, which was basically building this model of consciousness and writing this book, which he published over 20 years ago at this point. And like I said, I've been on the path for a long time. I've read a lot of shit from the Gnostics to alchemy to like every different metaphysical spiritual system you can find, through Kabbalah, through all the Abrahamic traditions, through Hinduism. Hinduism's obviously an exceptional cosmology, an exceptional explanatory document or corpus that reflects things that aren't explained, like the mystical nature of humanity, right? And I encourage people all the time to go there and study that, to come to understanding of the truth, because it truly is powerful, and it gives you really direct, really explicit directions on how to directly perceive the higher reality, which is, I think, the thing that has been veiled from us. It's that they're pulling the wool over our eyes on what the higher reality is, and it's beyond our physical senses, it's beyond logic, it's beyond thought. And what the simulation hypothesis is not what you think it is, because I know everybody thinks about the simulation hypothesis as some materialist theory about the world, like the ancestor simulation. And there's all these dudes that are materialist scientists that project this material understanding onto the simulation hypothesis. That's not what Tom Campbell's doing. But if you, and little side note here, if you do look at the gematria of them, like there's stuff there for sure. And like I met the dude, I had to make sure he was like a real person and feel his heart and shake his hand and shit, like ask him questions, deliver a live Turing test, Definitely a real dude. I don't think he's a controlled op. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I read the book as I've read all this other shit that I'm trying to learn about, us and what's really going on the planet. And his book is by far the greatest, most clarity giving. It's the best structure for understanding what's happening to like us as individuals, to just be a conscious human being. Because if you look into the actual scientific worldview, like very simple shit, like we have the theory of gravity, but it doesn't actually really explain anything. Like the ability for me to communicate words to you, to transmit knowledge, the ability for us to move things around and collapse our hands and have autonomy over our bodies, those are like the most miraculous things in science. They don't understand. They've got no fucking way of explaining how we're doing these very simple things that we take for granted every single day with a materialist scientific model. And so Campbell wrote The Theory of Everything, which is a model of consciousness. And it explains, basically, he posits, if I can sum the book up very quickly, I'll try. But he posits, firstly, a material world and a non-material world, a physical matter reality and a non-physical matter reality. He says the fundamental nature of reality is consciousness, very similar to what panpsychism suggests. And even more fundamentally, basically, I don't know if you know how much about how like theory models of reality work in the scientific worldviews, but like they have a certain set of assumptions. Like scientists, materialists assume that a big bang occurred, but you can't actually prove that. You have to assume that, and then they have a number of other assumptions, which all lead to disparate theories. Which, if you go on the CERN website, it'll tell you the quote standard model of reality. It's like 9 different theories: general theory of relativity, special theory of relativity, theory of gravity, quantum mechanics and all these things which cannot be reconciled with each other. And so he says that actually fundamentally so before I say that, he says the worldview that we live in, that Americans and Europeans, the standard perception that we're programmed with is that reality is created like through physical things, through atoms, and that's at the base of reality. And then atoms yield chemistry, and then
He might have dropped out. Might have lost his call. All right. Well, he was sharing some information.
Can you still hear me?
Oh, he came back. There you go.
Bro, I got a call from Mexico. I don't know what that was about. What was the last thing you heard?
Just rewind about 20 seconds.
Okay. Basically, we got a theory of reality here that is more explanatory and is being tested in top scientific institutions like Caltech out of California Polytechnical University. It's a prestigious physics university, and he's applying the model in a scientific manner, which allows him to predict things that is happening in reality that have never been predicted before, like what direction a particle from a radioactive nuclei on an atom will emit from. We think that's random. So now he's trying to predict random phenomena with a series of 5 experiments. It's an exploitation of the double slit experiments and the erasure experiments, which you should look into. If you're not familiar with the founding fathers of quantum mechanics, they knew all this shit about mysticism. They were entrenched in it, and they all knew that consciousness had something to do with it. They just didn't know how.
Just so you know, again, I said I had about 5 minutes, which is I've gone. We're already 9 minutes in, so if you can just bring it to a conclusion.
The conclusion is that I think that you should look into this because it is a refreshing perspective on what is actually going on in the world. It really just comes down to meditation and becoming a more loving person to expand your consciousness, because when you expand your consciousness to a certain degree that gives you mastery over your consciousness, he describes a level of God consciousness in the world that allows us to access basically the databases of history. And I think the only way, I'm a very big fan of bearing arms and revolutions, but also I think living in alignment with what we truly are is going to have the greatest amount of change in the world that we can really fathom. And I think that comes down to understanding ourselves, which is like a serious fucking thing to do. It takes a long time, I think. It's literally evolution. But I think people need to know about this because the technology that comes out of the science will change the world, whether people know the theory or not. And if we can get ahead of it and understand the theory, we can begin to apply it in our everyday life. And it will help us understand these mystical aspects of reality. It will help us see through how we're being lied to. It'll help us understand exactly what's going on in the world. So that way we can make more informed choices over what's happening. And I think it'll shed a lot of light on the nature of these symbolic codes that are being given, because there is a massive organic part, and I don't even think the people that are using it really understand what it comes from or where it means. Maybe they do, I don't know, but I think it'll enlighten us a lot about just what's really happening, man. So you should look into the book. It's called My Big Toe by Thomas Campbell. It's about 900 pages, 100% worth it for any truth seeker who is looking for that truth, who is looking for the knowledge that's going to empower them.
All right. My Big Toe, Thomas Campbell. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, JD.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
All right. I do have to hop off real quick. Freedom is near. Pop back on, and I'll give Cam Newton a second, but I got to get out of here. Freedom is near. Did you want to share one more thing?
Hello.
Yeah. Did you want to share one more thing? I got to go real quick.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat were just asking about the video that I spoke about, and it is on my channel. I did upload it, so if you guys want to go view it, it's called Secret Code You Need to Know. And yeah, if you guys want to go view it, it's just, you can give your feedback or whatever, but yeah.
Let me see. See, I found it. It's right here. So his channel is C, the letter C, space free. And you just search C, space free, secret code you need to know. It'll pop right up. All right, I'm subbed.
All right, thank you, Zach.
All right, welcome. Okay. And Cam Newton wanted to hop on. Cam Newton.
Yo, real quick, Zach. When you get a chance, can you do a quick decode on Sydney Wilson? I don't know if you got a chance yet. I haven't seen that video yet. She's an ex-Georgetown basketball player. She was just shot and killed by police. They just released the body cam footage, I want to say yesterday, but the initial murder happened September 16th. She was 33 years old. I can't find her exact birthday, but it has to be sometime between now and the last day of the year because Georgetown posted like a tribute to her, and it says she was born 1990 and died 2024. But she was 33 at the time of the death.
It looked like she was shot by police.
Yeah, she was.
Killer? Yeah, police.
Yeah,
33,
she was shot by police.
Like masonry. Okay.
Okay, and then Zach, watch the body cam footage. Watch. It's only like 45 seconds, but pay attention to when the police officer announces her address. It's like 118 something, but her apartment number is 322. Can't make this up. Ex-Georgetown basketball player Sydney Wilson, and she's 6'6", 6'6" I think that's important too. 66, but I couldn't really pinpoint her birthday, so it's still some stuff missing. But the headline is it was another mental health call, another courtesy check. She didn't even call the police officer to her home. It was like her therapist called the police officer because the therapist had a conversation with her and she said she sounded agitated. But you can see the footage. It's weird. Like the lady just lunges out at the cop with a knife. She actually gets him in the face too. It shows his wound and everything. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just it's a lot. It's pretty crazy. I think they are trying to sweep it under the rug a little bit because it's not going viral like the last shooting that just happened with the black woman at her house. Losing track of her name right now, but yeah, it's not going viral like you would think. And with her being an ex-Georgetown basketball player, you would think this stuff would be everywhere, but they're trying to like keep it quiet as they can. But yeah, take a look into that. If you get her birthday, that will help as well. They were reporting that she had just received like some certification for mental health through like some job or something. So they're really pushing this mental health thing. But yeah, that's what I wanted to spread out to you, Zach. Let you go ahead and do a deeper dive on that because that is definitely something major going on for sure.
All right, I'll take a look at it. Let's see what I find. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Oh yeah, Liam Payne too. Yeah, he died too. The One Direction singer.
Yeah, he started the stream.
Okay, yep.
All right,
that's all I had, man. Appreciate it, bro.
All right, so thank you. For the request about Charles Taze Russell, isn't it funny he died on Halloween? Again, Halloween's the anniversary of Martin Luther penning the 95 Theses, and that was going against the Catholic Church, and Jehovah's Witnesses are also against the Catholic Church. That stands out in itself. From his birthday, which is the 47th day of the year, to Halloween in a leap year is 258 days later, like number of the beast, and gematria equals 258. And remember, the square root of 666 is 25.8, kind of like 258. I have to go back and look at my old research on Jehovah's Witness. But since you sent a $20 super chat, I'll do a little bit more research on this. I'll put a post up on my written site, GematriaEffectNews. And let me see if I have an older post on my old website on Jehovah's Witness, if it still stands. I'm pretty sure I did in the past. This is an organic thing about the Jehovah's Witness showed up at my house. Let me see. That's right. Prince was a Jehovah's Witness. What's up, 917?
Yeah, if I'm correct, that woman's birthday is April 6th.
4/6.
Yeah,
Like
from April 6th to September 16th is 163 days.
okay.
That's the 83rd prime, correct?
Say the number again.
Heard my number? From April 6th, which I think is her birthday, which I'm getting, to the day that he said that she died, September 16th is 163 days.
163 is the 38th prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty wild. So that's pretty interesting. Georgetown, a light bulb came out. I'm gonna look into this even more. I appreciate the stream, Zach. Great stream.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'll have to do more research on the death of the founder of the Jehovah's Witness. But the Halloween definitely stands out in light of religious history. All right, we'll leave it there for now. I do need to hop off. I'm running behind on dinner. Again, thank you to the super chatters, and yeah, Jaden, look for a post on my website. I'll get one done here when I got a chance. All right. Oh, and Gematria Sense also said Liam Payne. Yeah, we covered that. Or wait, did I skip that part of the decode? Hold on. We covered his death at the beginning, but like I said, I did it real quick because I wasn't even planning to do it. Their first album was Up All Night, and he died 48 days after his birthday. You're saying Liam Payne equals 48 too? Yeah, it sure does. I skipped that. Liam Payne, 48. How about that? And you know what's wild? His name is the exact same as Freemason in every cipher. And notice how in the most simple cipher, it's 96. Remember the degrees of the Scottish Rite, 31, 32, 33, add up to 96. He's dead at 31. He's dead 33 days before the anniversary of the album. 48 days after his birthday. So, yeah, that's, and his record label is Columbia. Columbia associated with the Catholic Church right after Columbus Day. And again, dead in Argentina, the Pope's native country. So, like I said, I did the decode in the beginning in 2 minutes, and like I said, there's probably more. Liam Payne, definitely another direct connection with the 48. So, murder by numbers, it's as simple as ABC is 1, 2, 3. And it's too bad more people won't talk about it. It's too bad more people won't talk about it. All right. Great addition there, Gematria Sense. Thank you. And they said last song of his was released on March 1st, 3-1. Now he's dead at 31. Teardrops 127, the 31st prime. They got a post on freetofindtruth.com. Again, this is my website, free to use if you guys want to sign up for it. You can download the app. The app is free. Just search Mighty Networks app, and then once you download it, you just search Free to Find Truth, and that'll get you plugged in here. Oh, whoops, I'm on the wrong thing. Let me go here. Let's see. Here's Gematria Senses Decode right here. Boom. And again, the nice thing about posting on this website is you don't have to worry about anyone taking down your post. If you link a YouTube video, you say, I worry about YouTube taking down your video, and then it won't show up on here. But there's that 258, number of the beast, order of Illuminati, both 258. Again, the Jehovah's Witness founder did die 258 days after his birthday as well. Apparently, he has a connection to Harry Styles. The X Factor, where they got started, 48. Yeah, well done. This is a great decode right here. Great decode. So yeah, again, you guys can use the website. I pay a lot of money every month for this website. Not that many people use it. And again, it was to avoid all the censorship and people getting sick of Google deleting their comments. Instead of people hopping over to the website, I got people leaving comments like, I'm tired of you deleting my comments, unsubbed. And it's like, you haven't figured out that Google's deleting your comments yet? Not me. Like, what'd be my motivation to delete your comment? Unless you're a troll. But yeah, freetofindtruth.com, free to sign up. Or if you want to do it through your smartphone, search on the App Store, Mighty Networks, download it. It's free. And then once you download it, then you search Free to Find Truth. You'll know you're on the website. It's got yours truly up at the top of the splash page. You'll know that's the right site. So, all right. That's it for now. And thank you again to everyone who's liking the share. And give C Free a sub. Check out his video. He's trying to get out the knowledge. Secret code you need to know. C Free out in the St. Louis area. Thanks again, C Free. All right, guys. Have a good one.